Could the witness be shown Sloan MFI 1? Oh, you've got a copy of it. Tab 7. So this is page 123 of Sloan MFI 1.
Yeah.
Have you seen this email before?
No.
Okay. So this is an email in which Mr. Jetchell, but who seems to be working for the WA branch, indicated that he had further instructions and said TWU maintains its opposition to the application by Mr. Bracegirdle and is not prepared to consider any form of a local agreement or any other proposal to deal with this, or any other proposal to deal with the superannuation issue at Mr. Bracegirdle's workplace, as an overwhelming majority of Toll employees voted in favour of the agreement. You say that just didn't come to your attention in the National Office?
It didn't come to my attention, and I'm not sure what the date of that document is. It didn't come to my attention, and as I said,
It was sent on the 14th of February 2012.
Yes, it didn't come to my attention, and I thought I had dealt with the matter by making that representation to Toll.
It's pretty clear from this email that what was being advanced was a rejection of any other proposal to deal with the superannuation issue at Mr. Bracegirdle's workplace, not just the local agreement or side agreement.
Sorry, can you say that again, Mr.?
Well, the email seems to make clear that TWU, now it doesn't, perhaps one could infer from Mr. Jetchell's employment that that's TWA branch, but in any event it just says TWU maintains its opposition to the application by Mr. Bracegirdle, is not prepared to consider any form of a local agreement or any other proposal to deal with the superannuation issue at Mr. Bracegirdle's workplace.
I can see that that's what it says from the WA branch. That's not consistent with the approach that that I took on behalf of the union, which was to contact Toll and say that, from our perspective, given these feelings of Mr. Bracegirdle, that we wouldn't take objection if they facilitated a transfer. So I'm sorry, but I can't help you out with that inconsistency.
Was the party to the proceedings before Commissioner Cambridge? Oh, I'm sorry, this may be Commissioner Williams. Yes. Was that TWU WA branch or TWU National, if I can put it that way?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Do you know, Richard?
This may not help, but tab 4, an appearance is announced for the Transport Workers Union of Australia, but that may have just been a general statement.
That's the Cambridge proceedings.
Yes, that is the Cambridge. This was Commissioner Williams. The sequence of events is that Commissioner Cambridge, just so we understand where we are, tab 4, page 102, Commissioner Cambridge is hearing an application under section 185 for approval of a single enterprise agreement, application by Toll, and then Commissioner Cambridge, that's on the second, Commissioner Cambridge stands it over to enable, in effect, discussion to take place concerning a side agreement. And then page 115 is correspondence from Mr. Bracegirdle to Commissioner Cambridge, to which he attaches his petition, which is 117. And then page 120 the 7 days elapses and it comes back before Commissioner Cambridge. And at paragraph 8 on page 121, Commissioner Cambridge observes that FWA has received written communication from Mr Bracegirdle dated 8 September 2011 that mentions that the employer and our local union organiser are said to be happy to establish a site arrangement. And the Commissioner says, I strongly urge that such a site arrangement be established. Now, these proceedings seem to involve the national iteration of the union.
That's correct. The advocate here, well, the advocate in the, at least under the earlier tab was Mr Michael Burns, who was of the National Office.
Well, indeed, I think that also appears on page 120.
Yes, and my understanding is this, that when I became aware of the proceedings of Mr Bracegirdle's position, then I took the steps, after speaking with Mr Olsen, to contact Toll to make the essentially the offer that I made about not pursuing Toll or not taking objection if Toll facilitated transfer, and then to take the point to the next.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but just to understand the sequence of events, I understood you to say you weren't aware of Mr Bracegirdle's situation until sometime after the 9th of September 2011.
Look, I can't. To be honest, I can't recall whether it was in between these two appearances before Commissioner Cambridge. I understood when I put my statement together that was my belief that sometime after the approval, I was told about these concerns of Mr Bracegirdle.
All right, but you now think it may have been before the approval.
It may have been.
You're just not certain.
I'm just not certain.
Well, Mr Burns would report to you, didn't he? Who was giving instructions on a day-to-day basis?
Well, that's why I'm saying I'm not certain, because Mr Burns may well have reported to me after the initial hearing.
Did Mr Burns, or did you see a copy of Mr Bracegirdle's correspondence to the Commissioner? It's at page 115.
I haven't seen it. In fact, I've seen it for the first time today.
And then there was a further, well, no side agreement was entered into. Subsequent to 9 September 2011.
No side agreement was entered into. I think I've said I made the offer I made, which in a sense was, in one sense, if it had been taken up by Toll, I'm not quite sure why they didn't.
Who did you make the offer to?
Mr Baroni.
And when was that?
I can't recall precisely, until you turn my attention to the fact that this proceeding was in fact divided. I thought it was sometime after the approval. It may well have been in between these two hearings, but it was around that time, after I became aware of it.
Well, could you come to paragraph 21 of your statement?
Yeah.
You say, after approval of the agreement, and in fairness you say that
Yep.
that may or may not be the precise date,
Yep.
there was some discussion with Toll in relation to the subject. I said to Toll words to the effect, if an employee wishes to transfer, we'll not take issue with it. Now, you say that those words were said to Mr Baroni.
Yes.
Where were you?
On the telephone, I think.
So no one else was present?
No.
And do you say that you were saying those words in connection with Mr Bracegirdle?
Yes, in connection with that concern that had been raised, yes.
Well, did anyone seek your instructions about the email that I've drawn your attention to that was sent in February 2012?
No, they didn't. In fairness, Mr Stolger, in February 2012, the entirety of my time was spent essentially in the campaign that the union was undertaking to have established a Road Safety Remuneration Tribunal. I was rarely for any long period of time actually at the National Office.
See, that email goes further and says, I'm advised that the TWU did not at any time give an indication to the tribunal that the union may be prepared to consider a local agreement. And the TWU is not aware of Mr Bracegirdle's assertions that this may be the case until it received the decision of the tribunal regarding the certification of the agreement. Page 123, Mr Kaine.
Sorry. Thank you. I simply can't provide any further enlightenment about that email. I just don't know.
Could you come to paragraph 22 of your statement? And you say there that during the 2013 negotiations, concerns were raised in Queensland about the nomination of TW Super in the toll agreement. What were the concerns raised in Queensland?
My recollection is that one of the Queensland members of the National Negotiating Committee